So we'll be taking a 10-minute break really shortly, but I want to say a couple things about the bidirectional text to blocks to text, which is how we've been talking about it, on the team. Because if you say text to blocks to text, people get very confused about which transition you're talking about. So we've been thinking about how to do bidirectionality for a while, and the answer, as with many Blockly things, is it's very hard to do the general case. It's much easier to do it if you define your problem space correctly, and by correctly I mean to be smaller than the general case. I know Neil has been thinking about this. Neil, do you want to talk a little bit about that right now? Or do you want to leave that for when you've had more time to think? OK. Let's get like 1 or 2 minutes of Neil telling us how he's been thinking about this problem. I know it's something that other people in this room have also been looking at. And then after that, we'll take a break and use that to set up for our next bit.
So if you're doing text to blocks, the first thing you have to admit is that for a general purpose programming language like JavaScript or Python, there will be no win-win scenarios, no matter how good your code is. Because if you write a closure, you can't do it. You cannot write a closure in Blockly, at least not with the current blocks that we have. And there's all sorts of scoping and so on. So you have to set expectations that not everything can be turned into blocks. But beyond that, what we're currently thinking about is, rather than write code that converts text to blocks, we're going to use the existing blocks to text generation and just do lots and lots and lots of it, experimenting and evolving thousands and thousands of iterations until we get something that matches. So don't try to go in this direction, just go in this direction, every possibility until you get a match. Now that sounds crazy, but there are some shortcuts. So we would be taking, parsing the AST, finding all the tokens, things like numbers and strings and so on. And so now you've got instead of having an infinite number of numbers, now you've got a certain set of numbers, and you can start plugging them around. You've got a certain set of blocks. So you make a change, generate it, take a diff. If that generation is better than what you had before, keep it, try something else. If it was a step back, which usually it would be, then undo, try something else. And that's why in my talk I was focused on how to make code generation faster, because we're going to need a lot of code generation in order to get this to work. So that's where we're that's where we're thinking of going. There are a lot of complexities, and well, next year you'll find out whether that works.
Thank you.